Today's U.S. Black Chambers webinar, Accessing PPP Loans under the CARES Act Part 2, is brought to you by J.P. Morgan Chase. The COVID-19 situation reminds businesses everywhere that customers, employees, financial operations, and supply chains can all be affected. That's why every business needs a plan to face disruption with clarity, confidence, and relative calm. Chase has tools and support to assist your business. Visit the Chase for Business COVID-19 program for important information about how to create your contingency plan. On behalf of the U.S. Black Chambers, thank you for joining us today for what I know will be an informative session. My name is Alisa Joseph, and I serve as Director of Programs for USBC. I would like to thank Chase for Business for sponsoring this session today. Please welcome Mark Baird, business banker, as our guest. Mark is Vice President, SBA Solutions Manager for Chase Bank. He has 30 years of bank and small business lending experience. Mark leads the California and Midwest SBA consultant teams, which provide support for SBA products offered by Chase. In this role, he is responsible for ensuring clients receive the right SBA product customized to address their business goals and excellent customer service during their closing process. Mark has been very proactive. Mark Chase has been very proactive in providing information on COVID-19. Can you share a quick overview of the types of resource tools made available to help businesses navigate these tumultuous times?
Thanks, Alisa, and thank you for letting me join you today. At Chase, we're doing things like deferring payments and waiving associated fees on loans and lines of credit and business credit cards. We've announced a $50 billion in philanthropic support to address the immediate health and long-term economic challenges for small businesses and communities, which will focus on Black, Hispanic, and Asian Pacific Islander-owned businesses. We're also standing up a $150 million program to help CDFIs get capital to underserved small businesses who aren't being served by existing programs or have additional needs. So with a focus on underserved entrepreneurs, including women and racial ethnic minority owners, customers can visit chase.com/business for the latest updates and information.
That's great. Let's talk about the PPP program. We know there are a couple of components to it. We have both PPP and we have EIDL under the SBA program. So we know the CARES Act is really that's aimed at stimulating the economy, and we know so many businesses that have been impacted, so many people that are employees of these businesses that are out of work. And so you're helping us today really be able to help these businesses navigate this and get their employees back to work with them. So we've been sharing with our members the initial points about the program, which are you should apply through your bank, most importantly. 75% of the forgiven loan amount must be payroll specific. And sole proprietors and independent contractors can now begin to apply beginning April 10th. And speaking with your clients, what are some of the areas in the application process where they need the most help?
Lisa, I'd say that since the program was just initiated about 2 weeks ago, it is very new. And I think the best areas to help business owners is to provide a good outline and offer them a solid working knowledge of what the program offers and the application process itself to make it easier. You know, before we get into the details, I do want to offer as a public service announcement that we recommend that borrowers should consult with their legal, financial, and tax advisors. But when we turn towards what exactly is the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP is an SBA initiative that's designed to provide direct incentive for small business owners to keep their workers on payroll by providing access to capital for payroll costs and certain other expenses. You know, the loan terms are the same for everyone who is eligible, and the program has some unique features which we'll discuss, including that some borrowers may be eligible for loan forgiveness for a portion of the loan. So let's talk a little bit about the program. What's its origin? First, it was created, as you mentioned earlier on the slide, by the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security legislation. You know, you've seen and heard it referred to as the CARES Act. It's an extension of the SBA 7A loan program and was designed to provide small businesses quick access to capital.
I think that's great information about particularly the kitchen cabinet. Tell us a little bit more about PPP, and then we'll talk a little bit about what the application process is. I do want to remind our listeners and viewers that you can send in your questions to usblackchambers.org/cares-act/ in order to send us your questions and your thoughts. So Mark, please continue.
Okay. Well, they expect at least about 1,800 lenders to participate. And a bit more of the background, if a business owner has already laid off workers, they are still eligible to apply as long as the business was in operation on February 15th of this year. And you mentioned earlier, the applications for small businesses and sole proprietors started April 3rd. Independent contractors and self-employed individuals application time started last Friday, April 10th. And at Chase, we've created and use a web-based digital application process. But to apply, if you haven't already, you will want to contact your primary bank. So that's the bank or the lender that maintains your business banking relationship. And if your bank doesn't participate, talk to your financial advisor, CPA, your attorney. The SBA has an eligible lender resources link at www.sba.gov/paycheck protection/find, and it'll help identify lenders for you. What are the program terms and the requirements? They vary, and what's a key is kind of who's potentially eligible for the program, Lisa. And I'd say it's with a PPP program, generally it's going to be available for companies with 500 or less employees, or no greater than the number of employees set by the SBA as they define the size standards for certain industries. So that includes individuals who operate under a sole proprietorship, certain self-employed individuals and independent contractors, as well as 501c3 nonprofits, veterans organizations, and some tribal concerns with 500 or less employees. And if you own more than one business, each could potentially apply for a PPP as long as each business is otherwise eligible and provided that the maximum aggregate amount of loans may be limited to the $10 million. So here's what the program covers. It helps businesses cover payroll, salary, wages, commissions, or tips, capped at $100,000 on an annualized basis for each employee. Also, employee benefits, costs for vacation, parental, family, and medical or sick leave, payments for the provision of group health care benefits, including insurance premiums and payment of any retirement benefit. There's sole proprietorships and independent contractors. They'd apply directly themselves, so they would include their wages, commissions, income, net earnings for self-employment, again capped at $100,000 on an annual basis per employee. And then also non-salary eligible items. And they'd include things like rent, mortgage interest, and utility payments. And then just to discuss a few of the program rules, the terms of the loan are, it has a fixed interest rate at 0.98%, so it's just under 1%, and it has a maturity of 2 years. Go ahead.
Mark, let me stop you for a quick minute, because I'd love to just ask you very quickly. I think the information you gave specifically on the types of businesses as well as nonprofits can apply, I think was really, really valid, because I'm not sure everyone knows that. So I think it casts a little bit of a wider net for people and for business owners and nonprofit directors who might be in need. Let's talk a little bit about Chase. And as you look at the PPP program pieces, what's your application process? And what are some of the things as as people are applying that they want to avoid, that don't raise red flags? What kind of documents do they need? And what tips would you give that would help yield a successful application process?
On the application side, I'd say be prepared up front as to what information you need to fill it out. And then up front, you want to spend the time to put as much accurate information in the application as you can to streamline the process. What I would suggest is the information that business owners are going to need to apply, Alisa, it's things that I can outline for you briefly, but just to put in perspective, the banks and lenders, they're taking applications now, and so the application form itself is called SBA Form 2483, and it's available from your bank, or you can download it from the U.S. Treasury website. There's different versions. The current version has a 420 date stamp on it, so that's the one that they want to use. And some of the data that they're going to need to prepare and have accurate is the date you started your business, detailed information in order to calculate the average monthly payroll cost for your employees, your annual revenue, your business's legal name and mailing address. They'll need to outline owners of the company with 20% shareholders or more. And there'll be some additional business records and information that we have required. But generally, the application. And then an important component of the application information is it's going to determine the loan size for the PPP loan that's given to the business owner. And generally, the key ingredients are the maximum loan amount is going to be based on 2.5 times the average monthly payroll. And the payroll costs are defined in the legislation, but it's up to a maximum size of $10 million, which I mentioned earlier. In a very basic example, if your average monthly payroll costs are $100,000, you would potentially qualify for a maximum loan size of $250,000.
So, Mark, let me ask a question, because I know we focus a lot on payroll because that's really the main driver of this. Are there any other expenses that can be included but might not necessarily be forgivable under the PPP program?
So there's two components, if I understand. For the loan forgiveness, it's going to be weighted more towards the salary cost versus the incidental items, the payroll cost. And payroll costs are broadly defined as, among other items, the salaries, wages, commissions, healthcare benefits, and retirement benefits. And because of the size of the program, the SBA and the Treasury are assuming that the majority of the weighting is going to be towards the salary versus the items like rent and mortgage interest. And it might help just to give a perspective as to how that loan forgiveness is calculated, because the more important item when they fill out the application are going to be the items to substantiate the proof of payroll. And it'll be things that their 2019 W-3, their IRS quarterly 940, 941, 944 payroll tax reports, third-party payroll processing summary documents for supporting evidence that would support it, as well as company-prepared financials, their business tax return for 2019, or if they're a sole proper single entity LLC, doesn't do their personal tax return for 2019. But where that comes into play is the loan forgiveness portion is the unique feature that we'd mentioned earlier. And they may be eligible to have all or a portion of the loan principal forgiven. And if you use the funds for qualifying costs incurred and payments made for payroll, mortgage interest, rent, utilities during the first 8 weeks following the date the loan is made, and meet certain employment payroll criteria, then it's important because during that 8-week period, if they reduce their headcount or salaries, it may reduce potential loan forgiveness amounts. And this gets specifically to your question, whereas up to 100% of the loan may qualify for forgiveness, but because of the activity and the volume, the U.S. Treasury website, they're expecting a large number of requests. And so their guidance is that businesses warrant loan forgiveness by using most of the funds for payroll versus the other expenses.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. And I know that's been one of the things that, depending on the size of the business, really sort of drives which program you should be in. So it kind of lets me segue into the other program that we have, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And that one I would think would fit solopreneurs and those that are receiving 1099s, independent contractors, who get to apply, starting this week. So is there a separate pool of funding provided for them? I know that we've heard a lot in the news about so many people applying in the past couple of weeks. are there specific items that they need that might be a little bit different than what is needed for PPP? And what's been your experience in terms of the estimated time frame for the loan processing for these entrepreneurs?
Well, for the PPP program, the SBA appropriated $349 billion. And the majority of it was for the PPP itself. The EIDL, the EIDL loan program, is a direct loan from the Small Business Administration. It was set up for regional disasters, and this happens to be systemic, so it's in all 50 states. The Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program is funded separately, and it's a separate program directly by the SBA. And then the PPP program is offered by, like we mentioned, about 1,800 lenders across the country. And it has the $349 billion allocation. And so the numbers, because it's 2 weeks into the program, I think the numbers, it's too early to tell. But the funds are available currently. There's a lot of activity and a lot of requests across the country from business owners. And so I'd encourage business owners that haven't applied to review the program, and if they determine it's the best route for them, that they would make the application. And then I guess the last comment I mentioned, Lisa, you mentioned that the EIDL loan is you can apply for both. Just talk to your consultant, your advisor, about the use of it. You want to make sure that you don't duplicate the use of funds on both of those loan programs. If you apply and receive those loans, they've got to be separate use of funds.
I think those points are just so important for people to understand. And you talked earlier about the kitchen cabinet, and of course that's really important for people to get a really firm understanding about how to use the money, what's qualified under it, and to just make themselves more educated about it. And speaking with bankers like yourself definitely helps to do that. So with that, there are so many tools that Chase is providing to business owners just beyond PPP funding. It's a tough time right now where many businesses may have to retool, they may have to reinvent themselves in this new normal. What kind of recommendations do you have, whether it be business operations, online storefronts or e-commerce, cash flow considerations that businesses should begin to work on now? And how does Chase's tools, how do they help them to be able to do that?
Well, you'd mentioned the SBA and the EIDL program earlier, and they've got great resources I'd recommend to business owners. And I'd recommend business owners go to their primary bank's websites and look at tools and resources that they've published. Chase, we have dedicated websites, www.chase.com/cares. Our chaseforbusiness.com website offer tools for clients and business owners. Different content. We had early on a webinar titled "Making Sure Your Business is Crisis Ready" with a crisis response expert to help position business owners during this time. But there's just a ton of resources that are available and out there, Lisa, and I'd recommend business owners make sure to tap in and take advantage of them.
We do have a slide coming up that, to your point, kind of highlights some of Chase's, a couple of your websites, one being obviously the business banking site for those who are Chase customers. This website is the one where you can go to find out more information about the PPP program. And then Advancing Black Pathways, which Chase launched a year ago, celebrated its first year anniversary about a month or so ago. And what's great about this program, and they'll be relaunching a number of new tools in June that we're very excited about at USBC, that you can go in and kind of ask questions now. So you can begin to get answers to upcoming issues that you may be thinking about with your business. You can get technical assistance as well as a business banker to be able to help you on your path. So I wanted to make sure that people had both of those websites as well. I want to transition to a couple of questions that we have, if that's okay with you, Mort.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go with our first question. One of our business owners has mentioned that he's working on his application to get his employees back to work. What information does he need to include? And is there a time frame, which we did talk about a little bit earlier, to use the money for it to be forgiven?
So sure, well, the key points again would be the accuracy of the loan application information is important. And so take your time to make sure the information is complete. And then as it relates to, the business owners and they've had the impact, there's the 12-month payroll-related cost review. So that'll get your monthly average along with the eligible expenses. Those things are going to determine the size of the loan. And then once the loan's funded, after the 8-week period, they'll provide updated feedback to address the loan forgiveness. That's the process and determination is being set up, that would allow for the principal to be forgiven. And there's also the 6-month deferment on the payments themselves that I think we covered earlier. So the time for the application and the funding is going to vary as the program is implemented quickly. So it's had an overwhelming response. So I'd say just check with the lenders. They've dedicated literally thousands of workers to address the application volume, and they're going to respond as soon as possible. So those are the key areas I'd say.
Okay, great. That sounds good. Next question we have, it looks like it's from an independent contractor. I receive 1099s from my clients. Since their business has now slowed down, so has the revenue that I generate from them. What do I need to provide to demonstrate my financial need?
Well, there's going to be a few questions asked on that Form 2483. That's the SBA form. And the business owner mentioned that his revenue is obviously down and declined. So one of the questions is going to be that there's a current economic uncertainty that makes this loan necessary to support their ongoing operations. So that's common for every business owner. It's for all the applicants that move forward with it. The 12-month look back to calculate your averages versus just say the past quarter, that's going to allow for a more normal revenue baseline. So that's going to help business owners in that scenario as well.
Thank you so much for that. And then our final question right now is from a business owner who operates a retail store, boutique store. We know that they've been pretty hard hit because everybody's stay at home, right? Stay in place right now. So this question says, I operate a boutique store and I'm not considered an essential business. Are all businesses, regardless of the type of industry, eligible to apply?
It's an interesting time, and you're exactly right. So we outlined a little bit earlier which businesses that are eligible, and the key cutoff is really the businesses with 500 or less employees are generally going to be eligible to qualify. So that includes boutique stores. It's everybody. When you look around your neighborhood and your community, it's basically businesses in your community that you and I do business with every day.
And that's so important for people to know. I think, we're in a very unusual time, and it's great to know that businesses, regardless of what industry they're in, are able to take advantage of this stimulus package. So let me do this. I want to thank you so much for taking time with us today. I want to remind our viewers and our listeners that they can send in their questions to us at usblackchambers.org/cares-act/ so that we can get them answers, and I'm certain that you're willing to do that and help us out with some of that if we get some specific to Chase. But I really do want to thank you, Mark, for sharing your time with us today and giving us some really valuable information. In closing, is there anything that you'd like to add before we close out our webinar today?
I just want to say thank you as well, Lisa, and appreciate all the work the Chambers are doing in the community, and thank you for all you're doing to help support these business owners in this time. Appreciate it. We
appreciate it too. We appreciate the support that we're getting from Chase. So everyone, that's it for today's webinar. I want to remind you that our next webinar, Managing CARES Act Funding, will be next Thursday at 2. Again, please feel free to send your questions at the website that you see on the screen. You could also join USBC if you are not a member. There are privileges to membership, so we'd love to have you be part of us. You'll be able also to hear some of the webinars that we are currently doing if you haven't had a chance to catch us today. Thank you so much, and enjoy your day and stay safe.